Welcome to the Daily B Show with Maddie B, episode 88 with Celene Moon. So, gonna have a good old chinwag today. Celene I spoke to only maybe a month ago for the first time, and she told me about her up and down journey that she's been on for a while now. She's currently teaching and wanting to use her humour as her form of sort of healing and therapy for people that she cares about. And yeah, we're gonna have a good old chat, and she's got a few things to call herself.
Is that me? No, that's good.
Is that me?
Whoa.
No, that's good. Whoa.
How are we doing?
Is that better? Is that too
Is
loud?
that better? Is that too loud?
No, it's perfect. Can
Alright,
you hear
cool.
an echo, or are you good?
All right, cool.
No, there's an echo.
No, there's an echo.
There is?
Yeah, maybe I'll just take my earphones out.
Yeah, maybe I'll just take my earphones out.
No, leave them in.
Okay.
It'll be my side.
Okay.
Okay. All right, talk to me. Is it still there?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Perfect. Awesome. We're ready to roll.
Beautiful.
Yay!
So,
This is fun.
I gave you a quick little intro, but yeah, thank you so much for hanging out and your patience and for coming and joining us finally.
and thank
But
you.
for those that haven't had the pleasure for meeting your fine self, share a little bit about, introduce yourself first and share a bit about what you're up to at the moment.
Okay, so basically, like, I'm a little bit of a nutcase, and to be honest, like, I think that's in alignment with my divinity.
Well, I love
like, I've spent a lot of time thinking that I needed to pick one or two things and find clarity and blah blah blah. But you know what? I think me being all over the place is in alignment with my divinity now. So I'm learning to embrace it. So, God, like, even
Say that again.
My nuttiness, me being all over the place, having my hands in heaps of pies, that's in alignment with my divinity. So I put myself in a lot of different situations and just test myself and collect heaps of life data. And I really, even if I know I don't like something, I still have to go in the deep end and put myself in the situation to know that it's not for me. Like, I'm one of those people that just has to do everything. Probably got ADD, was never diagnosed, but it makes a lot of sense.
Can you start with what you're doing at the moment as well? With respect to work and where you're living and what you're doing?
Yep, definitely. So right now I'm living in Cairns, Queensland, Australia. If you're from here, I'm in Yorkeys Knob. I am a high school teacher. So I'm actually a trained primary school teacher. I'm not very good with little kids because I don't like breaking down concepts so much. Like, I love really just getting in the deep end with stuff. So now I'm in a high school. I've just taken a contract in a high school in the last week. I'm an English teacher, and I've actually been put
Congratulations.
thank you, in classes with kids that have been streamed into like a lower end. So there is a really strong culture in Australia and the education system right now where kids are streamed, and there seems to be a big hush about it, and I don't think people actually realize how toxic that is. I don't think people realize what it's actually like to be a kid in school these days. So basically they just get all the kids and they go, okay, here's the ones that gets A's, B's, C's and fails, and they stream them in that way. And it's really
Wow.
Yeah, it's really extreme, and I don't understand from my perspective why people let it go so long. So that's what my spiritual perspective has been focused on in the last few weeks, because I just don't understand why people are allowing it to happen. So we know it's happening, but we just let it be, and I don't get it.
What did you get into teaching for to begin with? Like, what inspired you to veer in that direction?
I haven't always been a lion, and I haven't always been really strong in my truth. So basically I had an ex-boyfriend, and he was like, oh yeah, that would be a good idea for you. And I was like, yeah, sure, no worries, I'll do that. I was a very confused younger person. You know, with all your shoulds in society, like, you should go to school, you should get good grades, you should get a high P, you should go to university, you should get a good job, you should have a car and a house and kids, and you should raise a family. So I really struggled with all those shoulds, And I think I got to about, I think I was 23 or 22. And I was like, wow, I really need to do something. And I had no clarity on who I was, so I just let someone else choose for me. And I think that's a pretty common story.
A lot of people are like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I found, like, I won't be a school teacher for that much longer. I'll probably do this contract until like the middle of May or until the start of May. And then I'll do supply teaching, where I can be like a sprinkle of kindness for the day for kids, I suppose, but I can't become enmeshed in the system. Yeah.
And you've got some pretty lofty views of the future and goals of things you want to ascertain and sort of get yourself into, which sort of pricked my ears up and got me pretty G'd up and excited. Do you mind sharing about some of those?
Yeah, so I'll just list off a few dot points and go into them because, like I said, I'm a bit of a nutcase. So basically, I've just really only in the last couple of days been able to feel into the confidence of stating what it is I want and being like, I'm going to get it. Like, I've already got it. So I want to be the best motivational speaker in the world. I'm like, that's not that hard. I haven't really had any practice other than live videos, but like, that's what I want. I'm like, I want to be on a microphone with a stage saying truths that people already know. Like, what I say is not rocket science. Everybody's smart. Everybody knows it, but not everybody wants to take action. So I would love to live in a world. And yesterday or the day before, that kid egged the politician. I was like, that is just exactly what I'm talking about. Like, the younger people are coming up and call them. A 17-year-old kid egged a politician. Did you know that?
I don't watch the news or
neither do
social
I.
media, really.
No, neither do I. I don't do that either, but this one's come up on Facebook and it's just gone viral because it's awesome. Like, everybody's bowing down to this kid. So this kid's egged this politician because this is a politician.
I've been thinking of a publicity stunt to do that's going to get me a lot of attention, actually.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I thought, is that guy? Yeah, he's pretty much famous. Go egg a politician and you'll be famous.
It's all I want in life.
But it just illustrates so much. Like, it just paints my point in a picture. Like, it's like the younger generation, the millennials are coming through and making the older people look stupid. And I'm not saying all older people are stupid, but I'm just saying, like, for me, understanding the collective conscious is really difficult. So to simplify it, I kind of just look at politics. I'm like, sweet, that's the political stage. That's a reflection of where we're at. So there's no point in blaming politicians for all the bad they do and how stupid they are and all that stuff. They're a reflection of us, whether we like it or not. We can only evolve as high as the person beside us, right? Like, we're all in this together. So politics is interesting for me. Like, I don't follow it anymore. I used to try to before I was really conscious, I suppose. But every now and then I'll just check in to see what they're saying and where it's at. And I'm like, well, that's still a reflection of us. So, so that kid egging that politician was really refreshing because it was like proving like, okay, the younger generation can see through the illusions now. Like, we can see through illusions. And a lot of us, we don't rely so much on our blood anymore, I don't think. Like, you know, the old beliefs of like family is everything. You always have to do what your family says. You always have to impress your family. I can really feel that shift in like, well, no, if my family doesn't support my divinity, they don't have to be around me. I can unconditionally love them from a distance, and that's enough. And I can really feel into that.
That divinity for us?
Yeah, of course.
From what it means for you?
Yeah. So basically, so I believe we're all superheroes and we all have superpowers, but we've just been so drilled to be out of alignment, out of alignment. And that's the other thing. This is where the education system ties in as a great gift to me, because I get to be on the front line to see just how we get so far from our soul or our divinity or our superpowers. So when I say divinity, I just mean the superpowers. Oops. So our whole education system is based on like the behaviorism theories, which is basically like, by definition, behaviorism is psychology put into a science, and it's about eliciting a desired outcome from somebody or something without regard for their thoughts or feelings. And that is what our whole education system is based off. So no wonder we're so far away from our souls.
Mm.
Like, it's easy to talk about now, but to be honest, like at school, like sometimes I get really emotional. Like, I try not to cry, because it's painful to watch. And you see these kids, like, you think that you have all these good intentions and you think you can go in and save the day, but the thing is like they've been conditioned for so long. You can't just walk in for a week and be like, hey, this is my perspective, and have them understand. Like, they're so conditioned. It's scary.
Do you remember when you were a kid, and can you look back at any times or points in time when you were a kid and remember a teacher that really touched you in a moving way and taught you something or gave you just one snippet of advice that you still use today?
Yeah, there are a couple of teachers that I do remember from childhood that I really learned a lot from, to be honest. Actually, to be honest, thank you for asking me that, because I'm going to go reflect on that a bit later, because that's really positive, and I would like to share more positive stuff, because what's coming up for me right now is the fact that I really didn't like my childhood. So thank you for asking me that, because then I'm going to go reflect on that, so next time I'll have way more positive stuff to focus on.
Beautiful segue, by the way.
Hey?
Beautiful
Beautiful
segue. No, finish what you were going to say. We'll chat about that childhood.
Yeah, I think, because we were talking about divinity, weren't we? I have to tie that in as well.
Yeah.
I'm lost. Where were we? Sorry.
Exactly where we need to be.
Perfect.
100%.
Yeah.
So, well, you just brought up your childhood. So,
Yeah.
touch on that for us. And the reason I'm wanting to go there is, like, I can see there's a lot of questions in your own eyes, and there's still a lot of searching there that you're sort of going through. But I also know that there's a lot of people that will relate to your story as well. So, yeah, like, touch on that, share that, and paint a picture of what it was like for yourself, what your recollection of your childhood was.
Yep. Okay. So basically, like, my soul is very independent. Like, I need to make my own choices. Like, I don't even like being, like, I need a lot of my own space. Like, I don't interact with a lot of people. So, like, this teaching thing is huge for me. I'm just like, oh my God, like, this is a lot of people in my life. So my childhood was very strict, and my upbringing was quite unreasonable. Like, you know, like, just not like the normal things, like, you know, if you ask your parents if you can do something and they say no, but don't say why. So it was quite unreasonable, and I wanted freedom to do a lot of things, and I wanted freedom to explore, and I didn't really feel like I had that freedom. Like, I had a really positive childhood and I had really well-meaning parents, and but they were very focused on, like, where they wanted us to be. So my sister's actually a professional dancer. So a lot of my childhood was focused on dancing, and I don't know if you've seen my Instagram or anything like that, but it's pretty obvious I'm no dancer. Like, I'm a beast. I'm really strong. I'm all about, like, lifting weights and high energy and just destroying everything.
Yeah.
So my sister's like ballerina. So my childhood was very invested in, like, a dancing community, and I never fitted in. Like, I've always been like I am right now. So yeah, that was always really frustrating for me and I always felt like I was not enough. And that's the other thing too that drives me to help people realize that they're enough without stuff. Like, helping people tap into the inside and be like, no, you don't need this, that, or this person, or this thing, or this status. Like, you already have your superpower. You already are a superhero. It's already there. It's just inside. So yeah, I didn't really fit in with my community growing up, which is reflective of now. Like, where you at, people? Like, you know, I have grown up with a really solid community, but as soon as I started being myself, people dispersed really quickly. So there's like, I don't really have, like, you know, they say like attracts like. I had a lot of people in my life, and I was really popular when I wasn't being myself, and when I kept my mouth shut, everybody loved me. And now that I am being myself and I have a mouth and I speak, nobody from my past seems to like me anymore. You know, I even freak my own family out.
This is all pretty new though as well for you.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, so you've jumped from childhood back here. So take me through, like, obviously with growing up, what I'm hearing is that there was this just feeling displaced in your own community, in your own family, and a feeling of lacking worth and not understanding what your own value was. And then, so growing up, like before, you said that obviously you didn't have your own voice. You let your partner choose different stuff for you. I'm sure it was not just him, but many people around as well. But talk me through then that journey of, and really paint a picture of what you felt like you were going through young adolescence and adulthood, and what was the epiphany or the turning point that really swung that all around, because that's where a lot of people are still back there. They're still feeling that stuff, and they haven't been on that journey and felt that shift yet. And if you can paint a picture for them and really explain that process, I think that would be really beneficial for them as well, and for me.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for allowing me to share this then too. All right, so I'll paint a very timeline picture very quickly. So basically, as a child, I wanted freedom. I wanted to roam. I wanted to try lots of new things. I was very high energy, very intelligent, really smart, and always shut down. And everything I said, everybody told me I was bad or wrong or terrible for thinking certain things. But I'm just going, as an adult, it's just what I feel. So I'm just going back to my childhood anyway. So basically, I wanted to be as far away from my family as possible. And I love you guys. If you're watching this, I love you, I love you, I love you. But as a young kid, it was evident in my behavior. For example, I did everything I could to not be a part of my own family in, say, schooling. So I went to a different school than my brother and my sister because I didn't want to be part of my family. And I know that sounds horrible, but that's how I felt as a kid. So we went to different schools.
Is what it is.
Yeah. I found ways outside of my family to do things. Like I was always a really talented cheerleader. And this is something that I don't think people really know this about me, is that I found a way to be a dancer because that's what my family valued, and I wanted that sense of belonging and achievement, and I'm worthy and I'm enough. So I found dancing outside of my family. I was actually a really good cheerleader. I used to get a lot of awards and recognitions for how good I was, but I don't think my family or my friends really ever knew about it. So I was always really separate. And then after I left school, I went into heaps of different jobs. Like I've got that many qualifications. I'm a very confused soul, just wanted to know who I was. So I was like,
what are some of the qualifications you've got?
Really deep in the fitness industry. So I used to actually teach aerobics and spin classes and all of that stuff as well. Also got pretty into the tourism and scuba diving industry. So I've been working on research vessels. I was an underwater photographer. I did dive instructor course. I used to kill starfish on the reef. I did a lot of that tourism stuff as well. I've got a degree. I'm a teacher. I had a crack at another degree, gave up. Lots of different places. And I'm in my mid-20s. I'm not that old. So it's been quite busy. And then I could never find a boyfriend. So anyway, the male I settled with, he was 12 years older than me, and we had a 4-year relationship, and he was lovely, but we were never, maybe for the first year it was good, but we were polar opposites. We're not like each other. And basically, as dark as this sounds, he kind of had a high-paying job. I was going to study education. We were going to have a few kids, and I just could see my life straight down the line. And to be honest, I kind of wanted to get it over and done with. I was quite depressed. It was a really dark space. I think people don't realize that about me, is I've been to really dark places and I don't really talk about it. But then a couple of years ago, my best friend...
Hang on. Before we go there, you can't just skim over that.
We can go back.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah. So there was very much hidden depression, and yeah, we'll go back there too. But then a couple of years ago, my best friend died of brain cancer, and I had a whole year to spend with her before she passed away, and that was a really awakening experience for me. And that's when I really started questioning life. I was like, well, we can get taken away this quickly. And I started observing the people around me. And this is stuff, I haven't really talked about this stuff yet because it's still pretty raw. It's still pretty hard. But the truth is that this is where all my psychology studies started coming in, the degree of me, because I couldn't understand why nobody else was willing to ask the questions I was asking. You know, I wanted to know so many questions, like what happens, like why do we even get cancer? Like I have really extreme perspectives on why we even get cancer. This type of perspectives that people just want to, you know, slam you for, but whatever. So why we get cancer, you know, the red flags, like in hindsight, things are so obvious. And then this is when, you know, I was never spiritual before Courtney had cancer. So I started thinking about past lives, afterlives, energy, angels, what's next. But yeah, so many questions that no one wanted to talk about or confront or bring up. Yeah, and that's when I started really getting into...
In your family and community at the time?
Yeah. I was just fully like watching people's behavior and analyzing everything, and I felt horrible. I felt disgusting. I was like, why am I judging people? But it was my way of finding out that I was like, well, I have questions and I want to find the answers. And even if I don't find the answers, I want to have a good go at seeking truth, because I believe that's what I'm here for. And then, yeah, since then my life started really taking off. But yeah, it was
Have you noticed people dropping out just organically, people dropping out that aren't sort of on that wavelength, and a lot of people coming into your life that are on that same page and that have been asking those questions and seeking the same sort of answers?
Like with me and you right now, yeah, but in my, like, people from my past, like, no, not really. Like, I don't really connect with anybody.
But new people coming in? Have there been a lot of new people coming in?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, but it's just that whole thing of like energetic dissonance. Like if you're gonna up level, obviously like attracts like. So in that process of up leveling, like it's a perceived loss, but I don't think it is. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for letting me share that. I hope I expressed that in a way that lands.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you opening up. And do you mind opening up a bit more about where you were when you were in that dark space as well, and your bout with depression, and sort of what it was that really helped you get through it? Or was that the catalyst, your friend passing away, that got you to start asking bigger and deeper questions and sent you on that sort of journey?
Yeah, her passing away. So I had the courage to break up with my partner literally the day before she passed away. So it all happened like really quickly, but I have, you know, that everything happens for a reason saying. I used to just drill that in my mind every single day, like everything happens for a reason. And I used to actually physically throw up saying it, because I felt so sick that I could say, like, I used to look in the mirror and go, who do you think you are? Like, you say everything happens for a reason and Courtney's dead. Like, that's what I used to think to myself. And it made me physically sick thinking that. So it's taken a lot of guts for me to really open up my perspective. And there I can sympathize or empathize with people as to why they don't want to grow and change, I suppose, because of all this polarity in the world, and we're on the fear end. So yeah, we're so ingrained to think bad things are normal. And I would really like to shake that belief up. And now, yeah, I feel like I've got nothing to lose. So but I still find myself getting sucked in a lot. Like I just like to keep it as real as possible. Like I get sucked in all the time. I question my behavior all the time, sucked into the norm and acting the way that I should rather than the way I want to. So I understand that, like, life is a game. So in order to break the rules of the game, make your own rules, cheat, you got to know the rules of society. And I think I feel like for me, as somebody who's like, I want to be like the best motivational speaker in the world, and a spiritual coach and all of that, it's really important that I'm grounded. So I have this thing, I'm a rainbow bridge connecting heaven and earth. I always have my colors, red chakra.
Yeah, cool.
Red chakra and root chakra and crown chakra. So yeah, it's everywhere, in my hair, on my wrist. So I'm all about And as a spiritual teacher too, my perspective is very down in the 3D now too, because of there's a lot of, I feel like we're all so confused.
Explain the 3D for those that don't understand it.
So third dimension, down here on Earth. So basically I always have my root chakra. So that's your energy center closest to Earth, which keeps you grounded. It's got a lot to do with your like sense of safety and belonging to tribe and people down here. And then all your chakras work your way up to your crown chakra, which liberates you to the divine. So we're a rainbow bridge. Like if you look at yourself as a bridge connecting heaven and earth, like that is my dogma. That's what you are, period. So yeah, and that's the other thing too. My grandma's last name is Bridge, so I always
bit of a connection.
Get that from her. Yeah, she gave me my first crystal when I was a little girl, and I always held on to that crystal for some reason, and I wasn't spiritual until like 2 years ago, so I've still got it.
I think it's either you're consciously spiritual or unconsciously spiritual. I don't think we really get a choice in the matter.
Yeah, true. Yeah, good point. I got to work on my wording. I find I get frustrated with words because I feel like they don't allow me to express what I want. But in saying that, I also idolize Russell Brand for his vocabulary, among many other things. But I always
he's a freak. He's a freak. But even still, like words are so limited. Like words are a primitive mode of communication, and we do our best. But one thing and I was the same, and not too long ago as well, is like I almost couldn't talk to people after reading some books or having some certain experiences because the words just weren't enough, ever enough. And so I heard a metaphor the other day that I've been using that I really love, and it's like the words that people speak are like a finger pointing at the moon, and if you keep looking at the finger or if you keep listening to the words, you'll never see the moon. And so no matter what we say, all it does is it leads the horse to water, but whoever's the observer, they need to drink the water themselves. They need to actually look at the moon and take their eyes off the words to actually see what's going on in their own experience. Words are limited, and it's just we just make do with what they are and understand that never going to be able to explain it completely.
Yeah, and can I add to that too? I love that quote you brought up because I put that quote against religion versus spirituality. Have you seen it against that? Mm-hmm. So religion is looking at the hand pointing to the moon, and spirituality is looking at the moon.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's cool. Yeah. Cool piece of wisdom. I love it.
Yeah, same. So can you share some of the insights and maybe some of the texts or the people or the books or the learnings that you got after your friend's passing and when you really did start to open up, start to use your own voice and start to really dig deeper into some of these questions? Like what's some of the epiphanies that you really found yourself going through and having in the big, deeper learnings that you took on?
Yeah. Okay. So big, deeper learnings. This is where, like, it's still so raw for me. Like the first time I ever tried to meditate, it was so scary. I just shut my eyes and quickly opened them again. I was like, wow, this is way too scary for me. And I actually cried because of my inability to meditate. So I remember that still. And I remember I knew I wanted to evolve and expand, and I knew there was more to life, and I knew I wanted to be a better version of myself. And to be honest, I couldn't understand anything. Like I feel like right now, for some of the listeners who see this, who hear this, might feel like they're not enough because they might not understand some of the lingo. But the thing is like you are enough. It's hard and it takes a lot of work. Like I'm relentless. Like I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and just read for 2 hours. You know, like I'm one of like it's a lot to take on.
I go to bed at 4 a.m. after reading for 4 hours.
Oh really? We're the other way around. So when I first started, I was reading a lot of text by Sylvester McNutt. Do you know who Sylvester McNutt is?
I've heard of his brother Sylvester Stallone, but no.
It's like it's really easy to understand positivity and wisdom. So I still have his books now, and to be honest, like I appreciate him because early in my spiritual journey, like it was everything. Sylvester McNutt.
Okay.
He, like,
I thought you said the
simplifies-
APM.
Oh, no. Early in my spiritual journey, his texts were really good for me because I didn't I tried to read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And I remember being in like Brisbane having this book. I love it now, but back then I was like, what is going on here? I had a highlighter and I was like highlighting things, trying to get it in my brain, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like we're so cloudy and conditioned, like it's okay to not understand stuff. So for anyone who's listening now that feels like they don't get it, like that's okay. Like Sylvester McNutt for me was like the start. It was like, okay, here's some positivity, I can handle this. Eckhart Tolle is like, okay, now I can handle him, but before, like, it was really hard.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, really.
I sought out different coaches that I recognised were good at speaking really simply on those complex topics.
Yeah.
Because you want to have conversations with people to try and affirm like what you've learned and what you've experienced, but to try and regurgitate some of the stuff that you've experienced or listened or read, it's impossible. You don't even know. So yeah, I remember seeking out specifically people that could speak simply on that stuff for that reason. It was really cool.
That's really empowering. And that's the thing too, is like, I would say to anybody, if you don't know who you are, just start taking action. Like just start doing anything and everything, because that's how you find out who you are. So if you do something and you don't like it, that's really positive. It's like, then don't do that again. If you do something and people judge you, great. You don't need those people in your life. You know what I mean? Like if you do something and you're scared about how people will respond to you, that's great, because it's like, well, who am I trying to impress? Like, what can I get rid of? And I actually seek failure every single day. So I actually look for flaws, and I'm pretty hard on myself. So you got to be balanced. Be careful how you take this. But I look for failure every day. So I look for how I can stuff something up so I can reflect on it and make it better.
That's a high achievers way of approaching life. Like the top level executives, they aim for a 94 or 97% failure rate. They just keep being in so much action. They know that the more failures they get, the more success they'll get. So that's when you shift. And tell me if you subscribe to this as well. That's that sort of switch from looking at life and challenges and mistakes as failures, as something that's wrong and that shouldn't be happening, to failures are actually amazing learning tools and necessary steps to my growth and my learnings and my success in whatever field. And so failures all of a sudden become enjoyable and sought after, and positive. A failure is actually a positive thing. It's not a negative thing.
Yeah. And can I bring up something too? Have you heard of the concept of dignity of risk? So this is one of my huge failures. Like I feel like I failed completely at being a teacher last week. Like I failed completely.
How so?
So this is why I love failure, because this is how I stumbled across dignity of risk, and I'm like, oh my God, this is everything. So basically, dignity of risk is allowing people to fail, allowing people to stuff up and learn from their mistakes, allowing people to figure things out for themselves. And last week as a teacher, I've never really done it before. I was really overwhelmed. I let my ego sneak in the back door, and in the Australian schooling system, like we can do a whole live on this one day if you want. We are so far behind in education. Like out of 41 countries, I'm pretty sure I'm not pretty sure. We are third last, which in first world countries in education. Out of 41 countries, we are third last. And it's really interesting to explore this, and I want to...
So we're in the top 40 still.
Hey?
That's pretty good. That means we're in the top 40 still.
Oh, man, that's crazy. So, yeah, there's this huge... There's
this... Triple J, hottest 100.
Oh, man. See, humans can justify anything, right? We're so good at not rationalizing anything. So yeah, there's a lot of stress on teachers to be high performers, and there's even this thing where if you're a high performing teacher, as in your kids are getting good grades, you get paid more money. So kids have turned into like quantitative data, like they've turned just into numbers. So last week when I was in school, I saw that my kids in my classroom were really far behind. And do you know what I did? I spoon-fed them information so that they could feel successful. Like I spoon-fed them information, and I was really like bossy. I was like, guys, you're either going to listen to me and pass or you're going to fail. And I spoon-fed them all this information. This is normal, by the way. And then, you know, they all kind of just copied me. And then I went home and I was like, what? I just felt disgusting. And I was like, what did I even achieve there? Like, I've set them up for failure. Like, I've totally set them up for failure.
Every one of my classes, I reckon, in high school was like that. Teacher would give us a test and they'd write the answers on the board, copy that. That's so common, isn't it?
Yeah, and but it's also very disempowering. And like, because like we were talking about streamed classes earlier, like, so I've got the classes that are at the lower end. So they've got these like negative self-fulfilling prophecies, like they're just not enough and they can't do anything. And then the learning that they do have is diluted to the point where it's just a total false sense of achievement. And then what? They just like, and this is senior high school. Like then they get spat out into society, and like life is hard. Like obviously my perspective is different, but
as a teacher, you're now viewing this like at the front line, and I'm sure you can resonate to the same thing, going through the same stuff when you were a kid and going through that schooling. Can you really see a correlation between what is going on in the classroom, the information that's being delivered in the style it's being delivered, and your own sort of young adulthood leading to lack of self-worth, lack of valuing yourself, not having your own voice, not being sure of yourself, not knowing who you are? Do you see the correlation there? And
yeah, I do see the correlation. I think for my upbringing more though, my restriction and my lack of wiggle room to be who I wanted to be was more based on like social solidarity. So I was actually part of like mainstream society. So it was like I didn't have the right to think and feel differently because I'm so privileged. You know what I mean? Whereas what I'm dealing with now is actually minority groups and marginalized members of society. So I see there's definitely similarities, but there's also differences in, for me, it was like, how dare I feel that I should want something different? I've already got all the privileges, whereas the kids I'm dealing with right now are more like, well, we're not privileged, we're losers, whatever. Like, we'll just give up. We're nothing. Like, so it's a little bit different in that sense. Because I think
a lot of people have that though, where, sorry to cut you off, a lot of people have that where they feel like their story isn't dark enough, or that they haven't been through as much pain, or that they haven't like felt as much challenge as people that are speaking up about their challenges and their pains and their upbringing. So it's like, I actually had it pretty good and I was privileged, so whatever I felt doesn't matter and doesn't count. I don't deserve to be to have my sob story sort of put out there. And I definitely can resonate with that, and I felt like that. But again, going through that process as well, is you learn that what you felt as a kid is what you felt as a kid. Doesn't matter if you had a silver spoon in your mouth or not. Like, you still had the waves of emotions, the waves of challenges and triumphs and everything, just like these kids are that you're dealing with. So although they've been like chucked into a bucket that is like deemed to be whatever the sort of tag they've chucked on their classroom, I don't really see it as being any more or less challenging than the kids that went to private boarding schools as well. Like, they all still had, it's all still the same education system, just a little bit, you know, fancier classrooms or a little bit more of this or all that. But at the same time, it is just the one system from what I see on the outside anyway. Maybe correct me where I've got my wires crossed, but yeah.
No, your perspective is awesome. Yeah, like I feel like there's definitely lots of similarities and differences to be celebrated for sure. But yeah, that's just like two things that I could point out, like because social solidarity and being enmeshed. Like we're so, like if we're mainstream, like we're enmeshed here. It's like you're privileged. Like you can't go out of that. How dare you? But all of our experiences are valid. Like I think, like there'll be a lot of people that want to go through a spiritual awakening and they're just busting to say, this is what I think, but they have that fear that the people that they're attached to, because they're enmeshed in their friends or families or communities or whatever, they feel like they can't because they don't want to let go of that attachment. But yeah, my advice to you is that if you don't feel good, you got one job and that's to feel good. So do whatever you can to feel good. And if it means losing people or situations or materialistic things, so be it. Let it go.
100%. Yeah. I was listening to Gary Vee yesterday saying, happiness is where it's at. Like you don't need to make $1 million a year to be happy. If you're happy, you know, working as a teacher and feeling fulfilled, and you're earning 50 grand or 40 grand a year, and that makes you happy, well then you've won. Like that's success. So where is it from here for you? Like talk to me about like the comedy and the humor that you want to bring to the world as well, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you know, for me personally, like it's all about freedom of choice and just being able to do as many different things as possible. Like I've got so much energy. So I want to do motivational speaking. Like I want to speak, I want to have gigs. Like I guess you could call it comedy, but I don't imagine myself being like a Jim Jeffries and like having like a scripted speech. Like I just want to talk about enlightening things. Obviously, you can probably tell by how this conversation's gone is that I'm still finding a lot of clarity for myself. And I always will till the day I die. Like I always used to feel like I had to reach certain levels and then I'll be happy when. Like I had that rat racing syndrome and I'm like, you know what? I'll always be searching for more. So where to from here? Sorry. I'm really going to, marketing wise for myself, focus on like beast mode. I actually was training really hard last year in CrossFit. So I'm really good at CrossFit, really good. And I always attached my worth to my athleticism. I was like, well, people love me because I'm strong. People love me because I'm muscly. Oh, I'm stronger than the boys. That means I'm special. Like I always attach that to my specialness. So I let it go. I actually just stopped for 5 months. I only just went back a few weeks ago. And I have reestablished my why, which is really cool. So I want to do the whole beast mode thing, which ties in with spirituality because it's all about embracing the shadow aspect of yourself, like putting light on your slim shadies. I don't know, I've talked to a couple of people about like monogamy and religion and all these things that restrict us. And I feel like there are better answers out there for a lot of the things that people just say there are no answers for. God, we're going down a deep rabbit hole here. But like, for example, like when Cardinal Pell, on the news, like that Cardinal Pell raped a young boy, like I was just like, you know what, we're not even shocked about that anymore. Like when are we going to realize that Christianity is not okay because they're saying that like a priest is up here and is liberated, so they don't concern themselves with earthly matters. So a priest doesn't need earthly animal stuff. They don't need sexual desires, so they can just be up here and not embrace their animal, right? And then what happens is they get frustrated and they go and rape boys. Like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, do you like my so I'm kind of just like, well, obviously, whether you say you're atheist or we're a secular country or you don't associate yourself with a religion, we've got to take responsibility for the fact that our society is based off Christian beliefs. So if we are going to point the finger at priests and stuff and say how bad they are, we've got to take responsibility for ourselves that our own core values are based off the fact that some people can be up here and not need this stuff. They can chuck that away, which is not true because obviously it creeps in the back door and they go and rape young boys. Like, we got to take responsibility. So I feel like there's a lot of things that are pretty obvious that we are not owning. Like, wake up, world.
Common sense is not so common these days.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was George Palin that said, we don't need 10 commandments, we just need one. Don't be a shit bloke.
But can I add that to that too? Is like maybe common sense is more common. It's just we don't want to take responsibility for it because we're so comfortable. Like people aren't dumb. You know what I mean? Like I feel like people just don't want to take responsibility. Like we have the
People are dumb.
information
No,
age.
people are dumb as fuck.
Are you sure?
Yeah, hell yes.
Or are they separated
to the
from
point,
their soul?
No, like they've got the capacity to be genius, but they live up to being dumb as fuck. Flat out.
Yeah.
So many of them.
But I can see
not
how
taking
that
responsibility.
happens. Yeah, but I can see how that happens because you are conditioned, like literally, like is it Skinner that did the rat experiment? Sorry, the psychology talk. So basically, operant conditioning. So it's like if you do this, you get a good. Yeah, well, it is, but we don't have to go there. But it's like we're just so conditioned, like all of our. From a young age, from the moment we spat out into the world, we're conditioned to be a certain way. So no wonder people don't break free. Like I was in the dumb category not that long ago. Yeah, but I was in the dumb category like only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, same. Because you don't know what you don't know, and we are taught and brought up in this way with the best of intentions by our parents, by our society, and it is done with the best of intentions, truly, but we don't know what we don't know. And like you said, the education system has been built over a long time, based for the industrial age, not for the modern era. But we don't know what we don't know. And until I really got sat down and taught the whole living above the line, don't blame, shame, justify, make excuses, giving away your power, and actually take 100% ownership and accountability and responsibility for your life, come from a learner's mindset. Till that really sunk in, I was a dumb cunt. I just didn't know. And so you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. But this is my point too, and I wish I could swear. I love swearing. I'm not allowed to right now because of my job. But
you can do it.
That's the thing though.
You want.
If you
I can beep it out. I can't beep it out.
But if you don't know what you don't know, there's a lot of convenience in that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for example, like for me,
ignorance is bliss. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm calling on people like people can't make excuses for themselves for what they don't know. We're in the information age, and we do know. And and there's a lot of sacrifices that I've made in my own.
There's cute puppy dog videos and babies like sucking on lemon and shit that catches people's attention. There's noisy.
Yeah.
There's information, but it's noisy.
Yeah, but then
which is another system we can talk about that's been designed to grab our attention, to mess with our neurons in our brain and the receptors. But the whole, it really is about. I think what you've gone through, right, and what I see is you got to a point where you felt so much fucking pain that you just you were forced to ask new questions. You were forced to raise the level of question that you asked, and by doing that, you got different answers. You got high quality answers. You took high quality actions, right? And that's where when people are comfortable, comfortability is the killer of dreams. Comfortability is that place where it doesn't promote asking the tough questions or challenging your perspective, which is your whole fucking identity of who you are, which is what you've gone through, like this massive identity shift, and because it shatters your entire perspective of your reality from your own image of yourself, but to your whole community, which you've just experienced as well. And so I really think that, and this is sort of that hero's journey as well, and crossing the threshold where until someone feels enough pain where there's just no turning back, it's almost, not impossible, but almost impossible for them to take that journey of really diving into that and finding those questions, asking those high quality questions and taking responsibility. Full responsibility.
Yeah, that's very cool, that perspective. So then so for me, like if someone said, how do we raise a collective consciousness? I would say, okay, well, we have to start with self-love. We focus on ourselves. We can't save other people. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So what would you say for that? Like, would you, because
I just put that up on my post, and about 5 days ago, literally that question.
Yeah.
How do you guys think is the best way to raise a collective consciousness? There's heaps of answers.
You did too. I wrote self-love.
Yeah.
I remember.
You did.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So,
interesting.
but that's what exactly I agree with what you're saying. It's not about the collective consciousness. It's about our own consciousness. We are
and
it's
owning our
same.
unit. Slay unit.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Slay unit. Yeah, I think that's going to be in my next click funnel. Yeah, so you can expect to see me doing more like marketing that
Slaying.
word beast. All the word slay and beast. Yeah, slay and beast. They're my words.
Beast Slayer.
Beast slayer, beast mode, all that stuff. Feels good when I say that. Yeah, it's very liberating.
Female Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like feels liberating. So it'll all be about beast mode, embracing your animal side as well. Because I feel like that's the other thing too. Like when I wasn't feeling super happy and landed in my soul, I was always trying to escape, I guess, Earth. Like I was always looking at the stars. I would actually even go for walks at night and just look at the stars and be like, can you guys come and like abduct me now? Or
Just
you know what I
take me
mean?
to
I'd like
drugs.
that spiritual. I was actually sober when I was doing that.
I wasn't. Fuck no.
But that's the thing, like spiritual escape